Hello, this is Shanna Smith, and tonight we'll be visiting about the new role for a parents organization that has just been established as our case study for EDL 856. As with any new situation, we need to kind of review the facts and what we know. And so far, for this particular situation, what has happened is a PTA group had disbanded, a new group, a PTO group, has been formed, and they have new goals. Um, what is currently happening is that group has come to the principal, which in this scenario is me, and they explained the goals that they would like to be involved in a lot of different ways within the school system. And unfortunately, several of those extend beyond the scope of that organization. So, what didn't happen is that particular PTO did not invite all stakeholders to a meeting where they established officers and committees. And I personally was not invited to that meeting either. So that would be a concern, that not all stakeholders were represented in their meeting where they set their goals and objectives. So when did this occur? Sometime between probably the last of the school year and right now we're still yet to start the new school year. So sometime I think this summer, something has evolved, and that's what I know so far. Who is involved in this situation? The PTO members, the parents, the teachers, the students, the school board, myself, and frankly, all stakeholders within the community. What do the parties involved have to say? The PTO is moving strongly for increased involvement in decision making, specifically related to teacher evaluations, curriculum, discipline, and among other things. So they want to be in the classroom doing teacher observations and things like that. Um, as the principal, I do have some concerns, and my concerns would be that I need to be able to collaboratively engage with this new group. And hopefully build a relationship, a healthy relationship with them. I would like to address their goals while maintaining the educational environment that is my responsibility. So I need to make sure that we're continuing to promote and support the current and future success and well being of each student and adult. So those would be my particular concerns. Okay. As with any of these types of situations, we do need to consider what are the legal or ethical concerns, if any. And when I do that, I really try to focus in on what is my primary responsibility. So I replay that phrase for this particular case study and for this course in building leadership, um, over and over. And that's promoting the current and future success and well being of each student and adult by applying the knowledge, skills, and commitments necessary to engage families, communities, and school personnel in order to strengthen student learning, support school improvement, and advocate for the needs of the school and community. So that often makes a lot of decisions a lot easier because it helps us refocus on what our priority is. Now, the concerns are the requests from the PTO do fall into some of the legal and ethical issues categories. Currently, right now, we're in safe territory. Nothing has happened that would lead us to any violations of law at this point. But the considerations would be, if we were to move forward, we would potentially be risking student confidentiality and teacher rights, and administrator and district level would be liable for that. Um, Currently, the only questionable territory, and again, this doesn't necessarily involve it relates to us, it doesn't involve us, is a dissolution of the PTA properly. I just would be curious how that was carried out to make sure that it was handled in a fair and impartial manner. Um, Ethical issues. So, we want to make sure that we're still in line with our professional guidelines and ethical standards. And this is one that I keep in mind regularly because I'm a counselor by trade. So, confidentiality is first and foremost. In typical terms unless someone's a harm to themselves. So, right now, we're okay. No confidentiality has been breached. However, if we were to participate in a teacher evaluation situation where parents observed, we would be in violation of that. And also, I think it could really take us the opposite direction with relationships between parents and teachers. So instead of our goal of building those relationships between community and school, I really think it would be doing the opposite. Has anyone been harmed? Um, I do think so. At this point, once teachers learn that this group has come up, I do think the relationship between some parents and teachers will be strained. It may make collaborative efforts more difficult for a period of time, and ultimately that does dwindle into a situation where it does impact students. Hopefully, we're catching this early enough and we're going to be able to choose a different path overall. And I think maybe that will help us be able to limit the damage done by the group setting those original goals. Discriminatory or harassment like actions. I would like to know if any specific teachers are being targeted, or they're just a general focus on the wanting to do teacher evaluations and parent observations. Um, and then I would also just want to make sure that that group is open to collaboration, to make sure that they're willing to move forward in a fair way so that we are not violating any laws or ethical guidelines, and that they're respecting those specific laws and guidelines. Third, we're going to synthesize what's going on. A new PTO group with strong goals related to school involvement and decision making has approached the principal, and now the principal must work collaboratively to address their goals while maintaining the rights of those in the school environment and promoting the success of each student and adult. So, what, if any, are the missing facts? I do feel there's a lot not reviewed in our original case file. Who is in this group? Let's just start talking about people. When we're evaluating this, let's look at people. Who is in this group? I would love to know what is the membership capacity currently. Um, who is not represented in the group, and that really would be my focus, because we need to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to be represented if they wish in this group, and I'm fearful that that has not been the case. Place. Typically, meetings for PTOs and PTAs are held at the school. I'm not certain where meetings have been held because they haven't been at the school to my knowledge. So these meetings have been unpublicized, and I kind of wonder for what reason. And then ultimately, these difficult when we're having these difficult um, exchanges, the school environment is going to be impacted by folks not getting along or concerns, and things like that. So ultimately, the school environment will be impacted. The program, so the PTO and the involvement within the school, I really would like to first understand specific facts. And I don't mean overall facts of the case. I would like to know what has motivated these folks to to come to this as their option to handle it. First of all, what happened? What truly are their concerns? And what, if anything, have they tried to do to address those concerns before? I would like to visit with them about a chain of command to see if they've explored any of those options to address their concerns. And I would like to know what, if any, volunteer roles they currently participate in and what they would like to be involved in, um, just overall. And again, I put that same statement down here because it just makes things so much simpler. If you just keep rereading that, it just helps you focus in on what our priorities are and should be. So, when we're reviewing the facts for step 5 here, um, I listed the facts here like they did. So you'll see the predominant color and representation here in purple is the community and PTO. And that really is what those are their wants and needs. Um, so they're wanting more involvement in those same issues that we've discussed. They would also like ongoing parent meetings, reviewing content, and then they would like the principals to support their objectives. Their their goals are those primary things addressed. Um, Students are second there. And the facts would be if we went along with the PTO, we would be violating confidentiality. There would be a potential for increased stigma. Um, Possibly impact student engagement in classes, and definitely damage parent teacher and student relationships. Um, so then lastly, the small section is teachers. So with this scenario, potentially they would be evaluated by parents. Then they would be able to file grievances against the district. And then again, the relationships are strained. And a lot of folks are leaving the profession now, unfortunately. So those are the facts as they were presented. And now I'm going to prioritize them. So my prioritizing them looks slightly different. You'll notice this large section is the student section, and that is just me focusing on the fact that I must uphold my responsibility to maintain confidentiality and focus on making it a priority to um, protect and encourage the future and current success of every student and adult and strengthen student learning. So, if that is what I have to focus on, then the what the PTO is asking is not in line with that. So we do have a situation, we do have a disagreement, but I think we can work towards that. So the next section would be the middle, and that would be the teacher section in pink. And so I have a responsibility to them as well to maintain confidentiality and uphold contracts. And I have a responsibility to encourage and promote the success of every adult also. So, if that's the case, then we move down to the community section. And ultimately, I have to use my knowledge and experience to work with families and community members and school personnel to strengthen the learning environment for students and advocate for needs within our community. Um, that's the next section. So, those are the things that are most important um, in my role as an administrator. So I then developed a purposeful plan. I think a lot of the time we come up with a plan quickly and we implement it. I was very purposeful in my method here, and this essentially also is my implementation. So I would first reach out, then I would research, and then I would respond to each of these groups. For the PTO, I would review their goals, make sure I thank them for their time and willingness to be involved, and make sure I'm hearing what their actual concerns are, not just what they're saying they want, but why they want that. I would also like to, again, learn more about their membership and who is represented and not. For our parents on the reach out part, I would shoot out a survey very quickly. Time is not on our side on this, so I would send out a survey to get as much information as I could to see if the general population is reflecting the same feelings as this PTO group. Research, I would review that data and see where those concern areas are highlighted the most. School board and legal counsel, I would contact KASB, Kansas Association of School Boards, to review the type of involvement the PTO is wanting and ask about legalities. And I would also update the school board to the situation because you always want to have them be in the know and be up to date, as they often will have great feedback and insight. I then, in regards to that, I would reach out to the NEA teacher organization and make sure that we're in line with um, teacher contracts and the related requirements. Um, Lastly, I'd respond to each of those areas. So, responding, I would work with this PTO group. I'd get meeting times and I would be happy to forward those in multiple formats. So, written, verbal, and digital, to make sure we are reaching as many populations as we possibly can. Um, and then I would review their requested involvement and list the legal um, the legalities overall of what they're requesting, and then suggest some alternatives. And then I would again review that district chain of command to make sure if they have other concerns that they're wanting to address, that there is a more productive way to do so. And then for our parents and teachers, again, I would get so much information out on those PTO meetings and really just general information overall, because we want to make sure that in order to work together collaboratively, people need to know what's going on. And so we want to make sure that we're providing that information in multiple formats. And then lastly, I'm going to keep notes of what was asked of us, the response of KASB, and then our response to that, just so that we have record that we did address the issue. So, seventh, we're going to evaluate our plan. So, with our plan here, there's pros and cons with every single plan. For this particular plan, the pros are this encourages open communication, it's encouraging representation of all students and families and teachers. And it's considering in the involvement of realistic goals. We're upholding the rights of our students, and we're working to build relationships within our community. The cons would be our time frame. We don't have a lot of time to gather information. Um, Teachers may feel deflated anyway once word gets out that this was something that had come up. And then there may have to be legal alternatives pursued if the group is not willing to compromise or continues to push the idea of observations within a classroom. So, um, overall, that group could feel unheard, and communication could shut down. But ultimately, when we review that fact, that my job is to promote the current and future success and well being of all students and adults, um, it really makes it easier to move forward with the plan, knowing that it truly does have the best interest of the students. Is it a perfect plan? I highly doubt it. But it's a starting point, and I think that's the key is we're considering the important pieces, which are what is best for the students. So, reflecting, reviewing the facts, we covered everything that was given to us. We then ask for additional information or considered what information we don't have. And then, two, we looked at the options. There's multiple options as in any scenario. A quick way to break it down to four options is support the PTO 100%. Number two, which is more like our plan, strive for some understanding, help set some realistic goals and guidelines, and try to encourage open and honest collaboration and communication. Number three, you could ignore the situation altogether. I don't think it's going to go away. Or number the last one, number 4, could be go to battle. So if you go to battle with them, I mean, I don't know that you're really going to get anywhere. Um, that is kind of currently, that's not usually a way that yields many positive results. Um, so then let's look at our outcomes. So when we're considering our options, we also need to consider the results or consequences of those outcomes and of those decisions that we make. And so ultimately, we have to consider that statement: what's best for our students and what is promoting collaboration and communication within our community. Um, those are the things we need to move forward with, the things that are addressing that. So, lastly, communicate. Ongoing oral, written, and digital communication will increase transparency and hopefully help build long, trusting, healthy relationships between the schools, the families, and the community as a whole. And so, hopefully, we could bridge any gaps that we had by offering multiple formats of regular communication. So, ninth, we're going to implement the plan. So, we're going to meet with the PTO. We're going to reach out, get information that we need, do some more research, make sure we have all the facts that we need. We're going to respond in a timely manner, and then we're going to have ongoing follow up. And the importance of this is not a once and done situation. If we really mean it, that we care and we want to collaborate, that needs to be ongoing. And so we need to make sure that we are continuing to make efforts to engage and offer opportunities for involvement and feedback and input in acceptable, appropriate formats for the school system, because we truly can benefit from groups like this if we can funnel that energy in a functional way for us. Okay, my case study reflection is included there. And lastly, here are my references. Thank you very much and have a great rest of the day.